Producer Joe, this side of the glass, good afternoon.
Good afternoon, Jim. Natalie and Clinton.
Good afternoon.
There you go. It's been busy, Joe, today. It's been
good.
Mad, hasn't it?
Yeah. Love the headers.
Yes. Yeah. I wonder whose idea was that, Clinton?
Wow.
It was Producer Joe's.
Of course he was. That's why he loves it.
Thank you. Former Celtic Swindon striker. Sweden, sorry.
Sweden.
Henrik Larsson. He will not be the new manager of Southend United. He'd been in talks with the Shrimpers. We've seen him on the telly, haven't we, in the stands during games. It's been going on for weeks and weeks. It's
been a long courtship.
It has, actually, Natalie. It's become a bit of a farce, to be honest. He was set to take charge, apparently, with his former Celtic teammates, Johan Malby, Jim?
Johan Malby, yeah.
Yeah, and Tommy Johnson. They were going to be his assistants, but Johnson has taken a job, who would have been head of recruitment, has taken a job somewhere else. So interest has ended in it. Because Johnson's taken a job somewhere else, now Larsson will not be the manager of Southend United. And it's quite a worrying situation for me, because Southend are currently 7 points adrift in that league. And this is a league, let me remind you, that we've already lost Bury in, and Bolton started with a 12-point deduction. So if you're 7 points adrift in that league, down the bottom, you've got serious problems at your club. Now, for me, the thing you need is stability, right? Weeks and weeks of courting Larsson has been a complete waste of time when this club are in serious trouble.
I agree. I agree.
You've got... Kevin Bond sacked 6 weeks ago now. 6 weeks without a manager, and results haven't improved. They got beat the other day 4-1 by AFC Wimbledon, and they've not been able to beat anyone. They're right down there as well. So if you're getting beat by them, you're in serious trouble. Now they're in court today as well on a winding up petition, which is a big red flag as well. So listen, I don't know the ins and outs of the club. Maybe some Southend fans can tell us, but all these signs are very worrying. And are you trying to? I mean. Listen, I'm not accusing the chairman, Ron Martin, of tricking the fans or anything like that, but it does make me think, all this courting of Larsson, is it a kind of,
you think it's
all for show, a little bit of a smokescreen to the real problems that are going on behind the scenes? I think when you're in that situation, taking a risk with Larsson is too big a risk anyway. Why not get someone in that knows that division, knows the league, and gets you out of trouble?
Joe, did they not interview Sol Campbell?
There were reports.
There were reports of that. I'm not sure. I can't confirm that completely.
No, I'm just saying that could be someone who would have been
absolutely. Well, he did it last year, didn't he?
Yeah, Macclesfield. Yeah,
he got Macclesfield out of trouble.
Exactly, would have been a perfect fit.
And he did it for months without getting paid as well. But so the point I was going to make off the back of this is, for 6 weeks they've not had a manager. I think there should be some sort of rule to help with stability, that within 2 or 3 weeks, if you've not appointed a manager from outside the club, then you need to appoint one from within, because these clubs are struggling. And for me, this is a big red flag that something is wrong here. And I'm worried for Southend. I'm worried that they're going to get relegated and then they'll be in trouble. They clearly have financial difficulties if they're in the court today. So it's
a distraction they certainly didn't need, Joe. That is for sure.
Absolutely.
At this precise
appoint
time.
someone and get stability in the club. Get out of that division. If you're in that relegation zone, in a season like this, when Bury and Bolton are in dire straits and Bury have gone, then something's seriously wrong.
Yes.
So I think there should be a rule, 2 to 3 weeks. If you've not appointed someone outside of the club, you should appoint from within, just for stability's sakes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
In the longer term, it's safer to do it.
Yeah.
I would go with that, Joe. I agree with you. Henrik probably get drawn into it as well. I no doubt thought he was going to get the job. I saw him sitting watching a game the other night.
Times, yeah.
And it was looking like it was going to go Henrik's way with Mjällby and with Johnson. As you rightly say, Johnson went elsewhere, which left Larsson and Mjällby. But then all of a sudden, it's gone away. And this is wasted time. From Southend's point, it's wasted time for Henrik,
if the club's
who's a legend of the game, but it's wasted time for Southend.
If the club's being run properly, which I'm not sure about. As I say, look, I don't know the club that well. I'm not there. I don't know. So I'm just saying that if it is being run properly, surely there should be a plan B, and there should be an appointment within the next day or two of someone else. Because if you're interviewing managers and one falls through, you have to have backup, don't you? Surely.
Yeah. course you do. You don't do interviews. You don't interview one person and say, all right, I'm going to give you the job. And then the last minute he pulls out. You interview loads of candidates, and you've always got the top 3 that you're interested in, and then you make your decision. So if you don't get your number 1, you get number 2 and number 3. So they should definitely have a backup plan. I think Gary Waddock's now temporary. He's in charge, isn't he? Caretaker manager. So, but they are struggling massively. Seen them a few times this season. They're struggling on the football pitch as well.
And why do we think that Sunderland haven't made an appointment yet? Jack Ross was sacked a while ago, and nothing's...
That's a very good question. Maybe the number 1 target didn't happen. They're working maybe number 2 or maybe number 3.
That's a big job, though, Jim. You would think managers would be going, I'll take some of that. It's a huge club. They've got backing now, so they've got some good players there. They were unlucky not to get up last season. They were beaten in the playoff, but they're a good team. That's a good job where you'd want to take that. I know people moan about, living up there. Nah, don't worry about living up there. You're managing a huge club that's got the potential to go back up to the Championship and even back higher to the Premier League.
But if you're sacking a manager and you've not got any idea of what you could do next, that's what this stinks of for me. You sack Kevin Bond and then 6 weeks later there's nothing. Yeah. There's nothing in place.
Yeah.
And Larsson's your only choice.
Yeah.
I'm worried for him.
No, I agree with you. A club like Southend, as you rightly say, Joe, at the moment needs stability. First and foremost, stability. And that has not happened. So now Henrik is not materialising. That has gone away. They're looking elsewhere. What is going on at Sunderland as well? Are Sunderland fans getting somewhat agitated? And it is another case. Stay with us. We're going to be hearing from a man who's been coaching out in the MLS very shortly, who's very keen to come back over here. This is now, because on this show, we like to think that we ask the right people the questions that you want answered. Producer Joe was with us this side of the glass just a few moments ago. Southend, it looked very much like yesterday, and the preceding days they were going to be appointing Henrik Larsson and Johan Mjällby as the new management team, and that Tommy Johnson, formerly of Celtic, Tommy, a man I know well, was going to be going there as well. But 3 became 2 because Johnson went elsewhere, and it's our understanding that Southend's interest then cooled on Larsson and Mjällby. And producer Joe was this side of the glass saying, along with a bunch of Southend fans, he was concerned about the stability or otherwise of the football club. So what happened? Ron Martin, chairman of Southend, good afternoon.
Hey, hi, Jim.
Ron, thanks so much for joining us. Natalie and Clinton are with me, and so too is producer Joe. Put some meat in the bones on it for us, Ron. Why did it fall through with Henrik and Johan?
Henrik wanted to hit the ground running. I didn't make it a precondition that Tommy joined us, but I did want him to have somebody who was familiar with the lower leagues, League One in particular. He chose Tommy at the outset. I met Tommy last Saturday week. We all got on well. All the contracts were agreed. He was Henrik's man. And when he pulled out, I think you could have knocked Henrik over the feather. I mean, he and I get on, say, really, really well. There was just a natural affinity almost from day one. And he's a pretty cool customer. But he was absolutely fuming when he got a call from Tommy. The rest is history. We did talk about who else could replace Tommy, of course. But his understanding and education in the lower leagues would have taken time. He said it could even take me maybe, 3 or 4 weeks to identify somebody and find a replacement. He said, I don't have anybody else in mind. It's going to be difficult. We need to hit the ground running. Tommy understands these things very well. He's been day to day on head of recruitment and scouting. So I think it just took the wind out of his sails.
Yes.
And disappointed us all.
Yeah. Where's Tommy gone then, Ron?
He's going to another League One club, which we found equally surprising. But when I met him, he didn't have anything on the radar. He was enthusiastic about what we were putting together, because it's a project. It's not just bringing people in as a manager.
Sure. Which club is he going to?
Don't know. He wouldn't say. So he rang me probably within 10 minutes of putting the phone down from Henrik. I did say, look, if it's money, then tell us what we need to do.
Yeah.
I said, look, I'll come back to you before close of business today. I then spoke to Henrik, and he said I couldn't work with him. And I actually get that, and I think that supports everything that I think about Henrik. He's a principled guy. And he didn't want it either. He didn't want to work with a person who just let him down. He said he'd do it again in January, and I get that too. The four of us got on really well. Particularly Johan, Henrik, and I. Tommy I didn't know as well, but I trusted Henrik's judgment, and I think he's really, really disappointed.
Well, I know all three, Ron, and it was particularly ambitious of you guys at Southend, because certainly you would have hit the headlines if you'd got that over the line. But producer Joe is this side of the glass, and Joe, you were concerned about the stability of Southend, as Ron are one or two other fans who are getting in touch.
Ron, I'm slightly worried that what I was worried about was the amount of time this was taking to make this appointment when you're in serious trouble at the bottom, and what the club do need, as Jim just said, is stability as soon as possible. When you were in these prolonged discussions, were you not wary? Were you not wary that you wanted to get something done as quick as possible because the club are in trouble on the pitch?
Yeah, of course. We all know that we need to get somebody permanent into the club. But I only met Tommy last Saturday week. He completed the picture. I'd flown over to Stockholm on the Tuesday before to see Johan. That went well. So we were getting our ducks in a row, and after the Tommy meeting, we talked terms. They involved Wasserman. In fact, he was coming over this morning because we booked his flight too from Amsterdam.
So, Ron, sorry to
it does. Let's not kid ourselves. Putting three contracts together, which are fairly complex for the future, it does take time.
Is this dead? Is this 100% dead, Ron? Is it? There's no chance now that Larsson will be the manager.
You can speak to Henrik directly on that. I mean, he knows that I would like him here, but we both agreed yesterday that it wasn't going to happen within the time frame that we had just set ourselves. I mean, literally just set ourselves. I said to him, you could sleep on it, and we could both think about what the alternatives would be. But time is of the essence. If it did take him some period to find somebody, don't forget he's not as familiar with perhaps the coaching staff and that he might need to identify in the UK to be familiar with League One. And he wanted to be his man. So Tommy was his man, and I get that. How can you? You can't totally invent somebody.
Let's move on then slightly. Then, have you got a plan B here? Because for me, you need to appoint someone as soon as possible.
Sounds like what are you doing on Saturday, doesn't it? Actually, Friday night.
Listen, you're 7 points adrift at the bottom, and I assume you.
I don't think anyone needs reminding about more than me.
As chairman, Ron, you don't want your side to go down. You want to get an appointment in as soon as possible, surely.
And the fans will have different views on this, but we will not go down. I think this team is good enough. Oh, wow. Yes, we do need somebody at the helm. We do need leadership, but the team is good enough. There's no dissent in the camp. The missing link, you could say, well, why doesn't Gary Waddock get the job? I mean, Gary Waddock has been in charge, and Gary's a really nice guy and a good coach. I think it needs a different person to take control, and perhaps a different regime.
And you were ambitious there as well, Ron.
I cannot do that overnight. Even when we were talking to others, then blocks get put up because they want to keep that individual there. So even if we had to negotiate the exit of somebody from a club, that isn't going to be immediate. But we do have, I've got 3 to 4 people that I think could do the job well. But my first choice was Henrik. So our focus was on him.
Which was ambitious,
and not just him and a team. So that's probably why it took...
quite a number of your fans are saying, what about, where are you at with Ricky Duncan then? Is he, would he step up? They're talking about him to make the move up, I think, from the academy.
Ricky and I have that conversation probably endlessly. We have in the past. His position is best served for the club being where he is. Anyone that becomes a manager is always vulnerable to moving on. Ricky's been with us 14 years. He's doing an excellent job in the academy, and I need him where he is. Yes, he would certainly step up and take the reins pro tem, but I would want him to go back to being academy manager when we find somebody. I do not see Ricky as a first-team manager, and I think that he's accepted that. Maybe he hasn't voiced it publicly, but privately, and we meet frequently, he's accepted that.
Ron, the club are reportedly in court today on a winding up petition. Can you
dismissed?
Oh, okay. So you can reassure the Southend fans that the club's in good financial nick?
Absolutely. Yeah, I can. And in fact, the council are so supportive of what we're trying to do, they can expect good news on the stadium plans very soon.
Ron, it's good of you to speak to us live and clear it up, because Southend fans I tell you what, I'm looking at some of the messages that are coming through. Fair play to you, Ron, for coming on and
you're very welcome. In fact, it's my pleasure actually to add some clarity to this, because you know, if you spoke to Henrik, he would be saying exactly the same as I would. We got on fantastic, and it was going to be I was going to enjoy working with him and vice versa, and we were absolutely on the same page. And people say, well, just get another Tommy Johnson. Well, it isn't that easy. It's not my decision. He would have to do it, and therefore, in that respect, it's his call.
Sure. Ron, here's one for you. A number of your fans are saying, ask Ron, Jim, what about Saul Campbell? Would he be in your list? I put
the phone down from Tim Lopez about 5 minutes before you called. So, yeah, Saul is on my radar. And I said to Tim, I'll come back to him before close of play.
That'd be a good appointment, Ron.
Yeah, Clinton's just saying that would be a good appointment.
If Saul was listening to this, I think he would know this, because I said it at the interview. I was impressed with him. He's an eloquent guy, passionate. I like his team. And that's not impossible, and he is available.
Ron, terrific. If I could give you any advice, go back to Henrik and get him to be player manager. You'll be in the Premier League before you know
it. That was one of my first conversations with Henrik.
Ron Martin, good man. Thank you for doing that. The chairman of Southend, telling it as it is. Producer Joe, this side of the glass. And that, my friend, is how you get results. Joe, well done.
Got Saul Campbell a job there, haven't we?
Yeah, Saul's in the... Saul Campbell, if you're in the mix, Clinton would like 15%. Stay with us.
White and Sawyer.